Well, welcome everyone to this week's edition of Métis Coffee Talk. That's the best introduction we've ever had for this Thursday, November 25th. I want to thank Renee Therian, our Vice President, coming live from Terrace, BC with the intro. Thank you, Renee. That was a great. What song was that?
That was called Crystal Two-Step.
Crystal Two-Step. Well,
That's right.
Good thing she could two-step, I guess. Why do you do it? This show tonight is welcome back to everyone, to our friends, family. This is a global show. I'm out of country right now, so I apologize if I'm looking a bit awkward. I don't have the banners behind me. I'm coming to everyone from Bogota, Colombia. I'm working with Indigenous tourism right now, so I'm making the best of what I can do. So I'm in Bogota, Colombia. Renee is in Terrace, BC, and our other guest tonight, Jeannie, where are you in?
I'm in Delta, BC.
Wow, we're a global show tonight. We're going high tech. All right. Well, Renee, tonight's show is dedicated to Michif language and culture. So why don't you do one more song? Why don't you pick one of your favorite songs and play it for us, as we have been doing every show, to bring really Métis culture to the forefront of everything we do.
Okay, I'll do that.
Awesome job, Renee. What was that song called again?
John's Two-Step.
John's Two-Step.
Another two-step.
You like those two-stepping songs, I guess, hey? Is that your favorite?
One of my favorite, yeah. I just learned it not too long ago.
Oh, that's great, Renee. Well, look, even our elders they're learning even at their young ages as being an elder. Well, Renee, I'm going to come back to you and talk to you a bit more and ask you to do a few more songs this evening as we do Métis Coffee Talk again for this Thursday, November 25th. Renee, before I let you go in to do anything else, how's the weather up there? Are you guys a lot of rain these days?
Yes, we are getting quite a bit of rain. I had to put my sump pump outside, and I think we're going to expect some more rain. I don't know. I don't think it's going to flood, but yeah, it's doing its share of rain in Terrace.
Well, we hope you and the Métis community up there, and of course your wife Anna and everyone are safe. And of course, we thank you for making time for this show. I know it's been challenging up there with the weather, but tonight I want to say a few things. Just welcome to everyone again. This show we really want to focus. The priority was talked about was we really want to talk a lot about our Michif cultural language program and really bring it out to the forefront of everything we're doing at the BC Métis Federation. Before I do that, though, I apologize because I know some of you will be dialoguing with me, I think, or you think, on Facebook, because the system, it's very difficult, the technology and connecting down here. I won't be able to respond to you on Facebook tonight, but I do hope you like the show. I hope you share it. We certainly want to continue to grow our audience as we've been rebuilding Métis Coffee Talk. And I thank all of you for all the time you take to just listen in. So the Federation we just released a newsletter this week. I'm sure many of you saw it. Our team provided a number of new updates, whether it was in, some of the job developments we've been doing, or Michif language is really the focus of this newsletter. Some other things, though, we'll be talking in December a little more. We're on a new anti-racism project that I won't speak too much. It wasn't in the newsletter, but there's other new things coming up for the Federation. And there's a number of other items. As many of you saw, we focused on JJ Lavallee. Every month we've been featuring a new board member. So many of you know JJ, but we wanted to make sure everyone had a bit more insight. So we hope you like the newsletter. It's just another simple tool we use on a monthly basis to give everyone a bit of a check-in on what's happening with the BC Métis Federation. So tonight, my special guest, well, both special, I should say, Renee, you're always special, but is our Director of Michif Language, Jeannie Cardinal. Jeannie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hi, thank you so much, Keith. I've been with the BC Métis Federation for a little over a year. Prior to that, I've worked with many Métis and Indigenous nonprofit groups, whether it's leading them or helping doing program development. So I bring a lot of that background with me. I also served for a short term as a director at the BC Métis Federation. So I really believe in what they're doing and the direction they're taking. So I'm really pleased to be able to contribute my skill set to developing a really critical part of who we are as our language.
Well, I think it's a great segue. Thanks, Jeannie. I think it's a really great segue, and let's talk about what you're doing. I think a lot of our members and our partner communities and some of the Métis watching on the periphery don't realize we've been working very closely with Heritage Canada with major projects. Last year, and now we got a multi-year project. Very early in the year, we were approved because of the tremendous progress we made last year. And there's so many people I want to acknowledge, but why don't you tell people about what we did over the last basically 15 months, really, we've been working on this.
Well, yeah, we've actually had, we have 3 different phases of the project. So they originally had started off with BC Métis Federation reaching out to the community members to elicit feedback on what they needed to learn the language, what didn't work previously, what language dialect of Michif, because there is a few of them that they would prefer to target, and what they needed or wanted to see come out of that, who should be involved in that. And from that, we developed a strategic plan of how to target language initiative for now and into the next 5 and 10 years. So it was really the community that drove that initiative to take us into this phase 2, which is the curriculum development for kindergarten to grade 6. And we did that in partnership with a linguistics professor, Nicole Rosen, and with a committee of Métis elders in developing that and 2 language speakers. So now we're on to phase 3 of a development of that strategic plan that came out of the phase 1 to develop grades 7 to 12 curriculum and to do a language app. And to figure out how are we going to build capacity to increase our speakers. So really from a community-driven goal, the Federation's commitment to this happening, and Heritage Canada, we have really developed a healthy process to really building this in a collective way. So I'm really proud of the work that we're doing and that we're doing it for a community-driven capacity.
Right. It's been a lot of work, I know, and I think it's been not really well known how much work has gone into this. I mean, why don't you share you've developed this curriculum that you're painting a picture of what we've done with the community engagement, but talk about the sheer volume of this work. Tell people when we develop curriculum, I don't think people that don't develop curriculum don't realize, this is a massive amount of work that we want to implement in schools across British Columbia. Give people maybe a bit more insight, like how many stories, like how do we help teach it? How do we create lesson plans, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So part of the challenges around working with the language, and Renee can speak to this really quite clearly, is one, we're limited on the access or availability of Michif speakers. We have over less than 100, or I think it's 1,000 speakers left in Canada, and most of them are over the age of 70. So if we don't do something now with our language, we're going to lose it altogether and we will have no longer access to the speakers. So that became a critical piece. It's also respecting that our speakers are in that age category and accessing them in a real respectful and purposeful way to support them in lending their experience and their knowledge of the language so that we can benefit from that to pass it forward. So that's one of the challenges around developing curriculum, is having a speaker. And we're just so blessed here at BC Métis Federation to actually have access to 2 speakers. And that's a rare opportunity. So I think that's where we have a real good advantage in that way to really fine tune this. The other piece of our language is that our language was an oral language that was used to navigate across terrain to develop some of the economic prosperity for Métis people in Canada. And it was a spoken language that was often just spoken at home. And those dialects also shifted going from east out to west, depending on the other communities that influenced the language, shaped the dialect shifts. So gathering that information and putting it into a written formula when it comes from an oral spoken language, and the trauma that happened when our language was taken away from us, or it was removed from us through consequence of the colonization process. Our language wasn't made available, and it was really difficult for people to have confidence in their language, in speaking it anymore. So that was some of the other challenges we face, is having pride in our language, recalling our language, and remembering what was spoken back then. And I think Renee can really speak to that, and how his language, our language, has shaped him as a person, has shaped his growing up years, and his own identity. And I really think it would be great if Renee could speak to that experience about how our language has a relationship to ourselves as a person.
So Jeannie, before Renee does, you said we've got two speakers, and obviously our Vice President Renee is one. Who's the other speaker that we have in our midst?
We have Francis Fisher. So, and he's another elder, and he's been just fantastic sense of humor as well. So he's really contributed to this, the development and working on this. So like I say, I really feel so fortunate to be in company of both of them, and just to be immersed in that. I think that's a rare opportunity that I have. So I feel doubly blessed to be able to be in their presence and to hearing our language being spoken.
Yeah, you know, I it's true. And in our membership, we have very few speakers, two that we know of. There's a handful of others that we know in other parts of but some of it's more Cree than the French Michif is what we've decided on. Yeah. And a lot of people are mixed, and that's fine. That's their family's choice. We're not here to say one's better than the other, but our membership has overwhelmingly said they want to learn the French Cree, the French Michif, right? So, yes. So both Renee and Francis are those type of speakers. So it's fantastic. Francis, sorry, Renee. Sorry, I had Francis in my head. Renee, let's go to you for a second. So, you know, you let people know how, like, growing up, how was it to speak Michif, or did you know any different? It was just the language of the family.
Well, I think it was the language of the family, but I'd like to share childhood memories, if I can. Yes. In Manitoba, where I was raised, we spoke French Michif. Looking back at one thing I remember is storytelling were a big part of our culture. That's how the knowledge, experience, history, value was passed on. Every time that my grandmother and uncle used to visit, they always had stories. And of course, my parents were good storytellers. And in the evening, with a coal oil lamp, we used to play cards, la barouche, and of course, a story would follow. I remember there was a lot of get-together, mostly New Year's. They would dance the night away to a fiddle playing. The Michif language the Michif language that was spoken at home had some Cree in it, like honey, miel in French, le beurre d'alliance mou. That's how we used to say it, and that's a Cree word. Another one was kindlin. It's called zakapu. My mother used to send me out to find some zakapu to start a fire. But when language changed when I entered grade school. We were not allowed to speak Michif at school, just at home. Today, the language is seldom spoken at home, and there are only a few Michif speakers left. Although the Michif French is based on French language, the structure of the sentence is different. Like Jeannie said, the Michif French is endangered language, and we only have a small window of opportunity to change it. But the part that I like is I'm glad to be part of the BC Métis Federation team that took the initiative to promote Michif language for our next generation. That's the part that that's the reason why I'm here today.
Nice. You know, Renee, I don't want to go off script. Jeannie, maybe I'll come back to you for a second, but tonight, what I was going to ask you to do, Renee, I know you helped write some stories for the kids. You put some of them, maybe think for a moment. I'll go to Jeannie, but maybe is there one story you might want to say in Michif, a piece of it or something that you could say? Not right now, because I don't want to put you on the spot. I can see you're getting
Yeah,
red
I'm
in the
just
face.
thinking there, yeah. Yeah.
Why don't I'll go to Jeannie and ask her a question, but Renee, I want to come back to you because I want our listeners to realize, our members, so the people that have never really heard Michif put together in a couple of sentences, to understand the importance of us. This is part of who we are. This is part of what we need to learn. It's not because maybe it will be as utility in our work lives, but it's our culture. And if we don't fight to say this, what makes us different than non-Indigenous people? Like nothing. So Renee, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to give you a minute or two to think about a short excerpt of a story. I know it's off script, but
Okay.
I really want people to hear maybe one of those little, like a little clip of some of a story from that you helped put together, because it sounds to me, when I hear it, it just reminds me of my grandparents, my great aunties, my great uncles. It brings me back for me personally. And I want people to feel that connection with culture. So Jeannie, we'll give Renee a moment. I know he's, I think I just gave a heart attack. Jeannie, yourself, you've been involved in the Métis movement for a long time. We've heard a lot about the program, but coming back to you on a more personal level, like you said a little bit about working with Francis and you feel blessed, but as a Métis person yourself, I mean, how important is this language project? Often people seem to put it on the back shelf, like, oh, well, it's language. Well, we don't really speak it anymore. What do you say to that attitude?
I said that I think just the way that we connect also with music is our language is music to our souls. And it's an expression of who we are. There's things in our language we can't describe in English. So what other things are we missing in our decision making, in our worldview, in our concept of the way that we're to be with ourselves and be with others is missing because our language is missing. So when you look at even other Indigenous languages, their scope of one phrase covers an array of expression of something that's deep and meaningful. And I think that we're probably missing a lot of that capacity too, to be able to express and engage ourselves in a way that has much more purpose to it. It is not just a language, it's a way of being. And I think once we start to regain some of that, we're going to see how broadly we're going to be influenced by that, how it's going to shape the way that we think and are with one another. And our humor is a big engagement piece for us, in using our language. I can't tell you how many times we had some good laughing sessions in just hearing the language and using that in the humor context, right? So that in itself was just motivation for me to think, what else are we missing in experiencing these kind of things with our language?
Yeah. So Renee, I'm going to come back to you. Do you have a small excerpt or a small paragraph or two you could read for our listeners to hear some of that language spoken fluently?
Well, I don't have anything in front of me, but I have a story that I wrote, and it's when my son wanted to go fishing. So, quand mon gars était petit, il voulait toujours aller à la pêche. J'ai toujours dit à lui qu'il fallait qu'il se trouve l'hiver. Puis dans ce temps-là, les hivers sont durs à trouver. Il fallait qu'il y aille entre les barouettes puis les cordeaux pour les trouver. Puis après qu'il s'est trouvé, on l'a amené à bout d'aller à la pêche. Puis il en avait poigné 4-5, puis il y a eu du fun toute la journée.
See? It reminds me, thank you, Renee, because we need people to realize that, because I think people look at us from the outside, the non-Métis, sometimes people that don't want to believe there's Métis culture, they don't understand this was a real living family culture. It was who we were. And what you just said reminds me so much of sitting around the table at my grandma's house, because although there was a lot of swear words in there, they would have had more swear words in my family. But I mean, they called it, like, I know I've said this on this Métis Coffee Talk platform before. My grandma used to call it dirty French, like somehow it was kind of French, but there was some Cree words in there and all that kind of stuff, right? But I was proud of that language. I regret not, thinking it was more important back when I was a kid. She passed away when I was quite young, but thank you for sharing that. So Jeannie, I'm going to come back. Sorry, Renee, you want to say something?
No.
So Jeannie,
Yeah.
Okay, Jeannie, I'm going back to you.
Yes.
So Jeannie,
Mhm.
Where are we today with the Michif language work? I know you were talking about, that was a small example of a story from Renee. That's part of the curriculum you developed for the kindergarten to grade, sorry,
Yes.
six, seven?
Yes, to grade 6. And there's
Six,
over 102 lessons. And that story is comprised and broke into 3 different learning levels. So there's a graduated learning of a gathering of words within the stories. So each story is written in English with Michif words and phrases within the stories. And each of the 102 stories have audio clips of each single word so people can understand how to pronounce the word. And then each story has the whole story itself read out in Michif. So you can listen to the whole entire story in Michif language in itself. So it comes with also illustrated photos that are titled with the Michif words so that they can be used to promote the language and to identify items and things.
That's excellent.
Mhm.
So that's coming out soon. We're gonna have a big launch of that soon, are we not?
Yes, we are, and it's coming, I guess, this week, I believe. And then we also have a 1,000-word glossary of additional words that people can start to identify things in nature's relationships with families, items, expressions, and emotions in the Michif language as well. And those also come with photos.
Yeah. You know, you guys did a lot of work. This is all like building up to where we are today. We're just finalizing the pieces from some of the work last year to now. I know you had an advisory committee. Do you want to just maybe give a shout out to the people that were on the advisory? I know obviously Renee and Francis, but I think there's some other folks on the committee as well.
Yes, we had Dale McCreary, who was lovely to give us some consultation advice to guide some of the process. We had Marie March, who was working as an elder as well. Francis was working as an elder on the consultation committee as well. And then we had some external consults on the side outside of that contributed to giving us feedback and some direction. And those are Métis people who worked within school districts and in their community settings that provided us some direction as well. So we had a good, robust group of people giving us some feedback, and some from educational teaching background that also contributed that were Métis.
Excellent. So I know that we're also looking at having an event in January. I don't want to pull the curtain off it,
Yeah.
but I want people to know this is just the start of a series of things. You're going to see the materials Jeannie's talking about release soon. We're going to talk about a significant cultural event in January, but I don't want to say anything because I know I'm not supposed to. But
we're in
I'm
a
excited.
we're in a planning of, and so
Yeah.
we'll be able to show community how we use that in activity base. So we're pretty excited about doing that, and so I've met with the elders and got some consultation with them. So we're just gathering our numbers together, and we'll be able to propose those to you, Keith, so that we can get approval to go ahead with that.
Right on. So we're going to come back and talk more, but Renee, I want to go back to you for a second. And what I want you to do is, can you give us a little bit more culture with maybe pick up that fiddle and give us another song, if you will? I know the viewers really, honestly, I get so much positive comments about they want more fiddle music and less me talking. So can you help them out? Great tune, Mr. Therian. What's the name of that song for everyone?
Leather Breeches.
Leather Britches. How long? And again, I know I've had you on shows before, but I always like to remind people, how long have you been playing fiddle for?
Since I was about 18.
but not Métis fiddle music though. That
Not
only came later on, right?
Later on, that's right.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I love the music. It always picks me up, and I'm sure we're hearing language from you, fiddle from you. So, outstanding job as always.
Thank you.
So Jeannie, back to you. Now we've talked about some of the things we're doing with, the Michif language and some of the work last year and up till now. But what about the future? Where are we going? Let people maybe talk to people about where are we going with the next phase of this development?
That's a really exciting thing. We're actually working on the next set of curriculum, which is going to give people the opportunity to actually use the language and words and phrases to ask things, to answer questions, and using it's called TPR method, which is really engaging your audience using the language. So we're currently working on the scripts for those language slides so that we can start to practice using our oral languages with phrases, and it'll build off of some of the curriculum we did for kindergarten, grade 6, so that we can actually use some of the items and things that were identified in our glossary. We'll be able to use them within a learning template to actually start speaking our language. So that's very exciting. And I'm actually learning some phrases, but my pronunciation is really poor. So it's a barrier.
You're probably 10 times. Yeah, well, I've just figured out to say le temps passé, le temps qui vient properly this year. So
that's great.
So yes, yeah, I'm trying to bring it back into my brain space too. So we've got to force ourselves to do that. Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, the great news is as you know, I mean, we let people know, but we've signed a multi-year agreement with Heritage Canada. We've got 2 years in front of us of doing this work, and I think you're doing an outstanding job. Is there anything you want to say in addition to that, or anything we haven't touched on tonight?
Yeah, we're actually going to be also building a language app from last year's curriculum and this year's content. So we'll actually, be moving in towards having a mobile app for that. The other thing is I really want to really touch base on is that some of the things that prevent us from learning our language. I think probably the most common feedback that we've gotten is people, you feel a little bit embarrassed. You feel that you'll be laughed at if you pronounce it incorrectly. And the real truth behind a lot of that is that we need to build muscle structure within the way we hold our tongue, where we pronounce our words. And we've been robbed that opportunity because of colonization, that we've lost that ability to do that, but it can be regained, because it's an oral spoken language and we've lost that ability. So we need to learn to be gentle with ourselves when doing that. And again, like I say, being in the company of the Michif speakers, we've used a lot of humor, and be able to take risk and to say that, and they speak it so well. And of course, I feel so foreign in being able to speak it because my pronunciation isn't as clear because of the muscle structure has not been used. So I encourage people just take chances and to work at it.
Yeah, that's one thing that's why I really want to promote a sense of positive cultural pride, because we have sometimes these cultural gatekeepers they think they're cultural gatekeepers and are constantly telling people things are wrong. And all of our Métis families had a variety of experiences, and we can't fault people that were disconnected through assimilation policies that were absolutely put in place to do exactly just that. Yeah. So I find it, us at the Federation anyways, I really appreciate that you said that, because our value is to be inclusive. Let's bring people together. Yeah. Let's reconnect people culture. We're going to share the sort of a core culture of what we think, is as the collective will of our members. So, for example, we didn't come by doing the French Michif, as you said earlier, but just because I said, or Renee said, or you said for that matter. Yeah. We actually polled people. I remember at the AGM a few years ago, we had a survey. We went online. We had surveys. We had community engagement. We had surveys. And that was overwhelmingly what people wanted. So it really was like, we want people to just really feel positive and not be afraid to step out of that shame. Let's be honest. Yeah. Like, I mean, sometimes we know it's Métis. We got First Nations telling us we don't belong here. And I hate saying that because I don't want to create that fight, but it's the truth. It happens. Yeah. We see it in letters. We see it in correspondence. That's not okay. Yeah. We don't have to fight it, but we just got to be proud of who we are. We got to stand up with pride, because there's more than enough of the world that wants to knock us down. And I think that's really important. Really, I mean, Jeannie, I know, or maybe Renee, I'll ask you. I mean, how, you grew up at a time when it wasn't, I'm old, you're a little bit older. Renee, in your life, I'm sure it was, not cool to be Métis or half breed or whatever you were called back in the day, right? And that still lives today.
Well, actually, it was, if I remember, it's mostly at school, because
Yeah.
otherwise we had to we turned to French, and everybody accepted us. So to me, I think when we started school, I didn't know why they were so mad at me, but the nun said, "No, you can't speak that language." So yeah, if I remember a place where I didn't feel comfortable, it was at school.
Yeah, yeah. Sad. It's the truth. But and you know what? And my belief, and I don't know what you think. People think things have changed, and I will be the first to say, yes, the world's gotten better. But have schools really changed? Do we see a lot of Métis culture for our kids in schools in BC?
I don't think so.
No, no.
Not that I know of.
I don't, Gene, do you see a lot of Métis culture in any of your travels, or, you're connecting with a lot of people? Do you hear a lot about, besides maybe the odd workshop? I mean, there's some stuff being done, but I mean, really language, is there any
Yeah.
language being taught in this province?
I haven't recognized any Michif language being facilitated in any of the schools. And that was part of some of the feedback we got from people who are working in the schools, is that as Indigenous workers, they don't even have materials that they can access to facilitate in their school. And so they were really looking forward to that. We've even got some of these Southern Michif speakers reaching out to us to want to learn more about the Michif French, because they haven't been exposed to that. They're working more with the Cree dialect. The beauty of our language is that because there's so many varying dialects, it can also be understood amongst each other. So even when I attended a Southern Michif workshop series, I was able, through the capacity of working in this program, I was able to understand almost, probably, I would say 90% of what she was saying, because I was exposed to the Michif French. And how beautiful is our language that can navigate across those kind of regions and territories and zones and still have a strong understanding of one another. That's the magic of our language, and that we did that as a people, and we're not being identified for that. We're not being given recognition for that. And we created part of economic prosperity of Canada using our language as a navigator. So that's a huge contribution that we've made.
Well, when you think, I know people seem to they think they're helping, and I don't want to take away, because I think some people in society really try. But the collective will, like when I think about any of our kids, families that any of us have, do our kids get any Métis exposure really deeply anywhere outside of our own homes? Probably not, which is okay, I guess, if our homes are strengthened, empowered. So it's our job through language and all these things we're doing is to empower our homes, hopefully, and hopefully the system to whether it's education or child and family services or health, or what does it mean for Métis specific cultural support? Is it handing a sash out? Well, maybe a little bit of that, but I'd like to think we could find something more deeper in programming. And I think what I'm just saying by my theory is, with the Federation, what the work you're doing, Jeannie, with Renee leadership, developing actual tangible tools we can just put on their desk. Here you go, follow it A to Z. That's really the only, I think, real solution, because I've been at this work myself since I was, I was a kid, and I just don't see things. I see the world accepting us more. I see more recognition, but I think a lot of people are misunderstanding. We don't just need political recognition. Our families and our children are losing their culture every day still. So political recognition hasn't been enough, and just throwing money at problems isn't enough. You got to actually have a proper plan and an operating strategy to execute, and that's what we're trying to show the Federation, I guess, if I can say it that way.
Yeah,
So,
I would
Jeannie,
agree. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
absolutely agree, because I know my boys growing up in school, and they're adults now. I remember them actually, because there was an Indigenous workers room that was available to them. They were advised of it. I went and did the introduction to them. They still came home saying they didn't feel that they belonged. They didn't see anything that identified them as Métis kids. They certainly seen Indigenous, other children, other groups of the territory, but they didn't feel like they belonged. So we do need to do better at visually identifying ourselves, that our kids belong in the school, with our language, with our music, Because our kids, if they don't belong outside in community and we're not fostering that, we're missing the mark. You know, when our kids don't have a sense of belonging, and school is one of the places they spend a majority of their time outside of the home in. And if they don't feel like they're belonging there, what's happening to them?
Right, right,
You know,
exactly.
it's really important that we try to influence the school district that is shaping a lot of our children, that we
Exactly.
do it positively.
Yeah. So that's a pretty heavy subject. So Renee, why don't we lighten it up? Can you do another Métis song for us? Because I want to talk about some other political issues. So Jeannie, when we come back, maybe we'll wrap up on the Machif, but I want to get your
Sounds great.
opinions on some other stuff, okay?
Sounds good.
So Renee, are you ready to give us another fiddle tune?
I'm ready.
All right. Those fingers were moving. They were moving, Renee. I really saw that. What
And that was
let's say
called St. Anne's Reel.
San Israel. So when did you learn that song?
That's been quite a while. I think I got it from home. I've learned it that long ago.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so Jeannie, I'm just gonna with anything else on the Michif language work we're doing, obviously a lot for people to digest. I'm trying to keep it as simple, but yet help people understand we're developing a systematic approach to this. But yeah, anything else you want to share on that?
I think that our biggest learning probably with it is that it's been an oral speaking language, and tracking the phonetic sounds has been a really the largest piece of the work. And thank goodness for Renee actually having so much retention for the language and recalling it, and every day that goes by he's remembering more of it and bringing it back home. And I give thanks so much to him for doing that, because it's almost like he gets to reinstill that pride in himself to be proud of our language, and he's passing it on forward. So thank you, Renee, for doing that in such a good way, and overcoming all the shame and the history that was taken away from you. And thank you for bringing it forward and sharing it with the rest of us to learn from.
You're welcome, Jeannie. Anytime.
Well, I think, well, first of all, on behalf of the board and the staff and everyone, we know that you guys are working really hard. I thank the past the committee members. I thank the current committee. I think, of course, yourself, Renee, and Francis, and of course, Betty, I know, is always in the corner with Francis. It's very important work we're doing. And if we don't do it, the question is who is, because honestly, I don't see any other Métis organizations. I see them doing a lot of like fun camps, fun stuff, which is fine if you have lots of money. We don't have that. So we focused on how we're going to really build language, and it's not easy work. It's rolling up your sleeves and building curriculums. And my original degree was in teaching, and I've written curriculum, and this is a lot of work. But this is really the how-to for all the way from K to six. And as you heard, Jeannie, we're working on the older years in the coming 2 years. So I really thank you guys. Just from the bottom of my heart, I think this is, if we don't have culture, we're just a fun club in a society. That's not what we agreed to get into this for, right? So any final comments, Jeannie, then you want to leave with on the project?
I just want to also thank yourself and the board and all the team that works out of the office that really is behind us, and working collectively and acknowledging each of their efforts, whether it's from the book printing to touching base to helping with the budget to posting our project work. I want to say thank you to everybody that often maybe overlooked, but not in office. We really appreciate one another. So thank you for such a strong team in doing that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I know I know our members and partner communities and our partners from the outside don't always realize how much mechanically this takes to pull together, but it's a lot of moving parts. And yeah, no, I think everyone tries. And of course, like everyone, we bump into each other and sometimes stumble and fall and pick ourselves back up and keep going. But
Yeah.
I know when people see all the final products of the work that it's good, it's outstanding. And Renee gave a small glimpse of it.
Yeah.
But I want to change a little bit. It's our Métis Coffee Talk. There's some other topics I do want to touch on. I can't show anything on the screen, and I feel really frustrated about that. But I'm going to ask some opinions of you, Mr. Vice President. You know, I've seen, the Manitoba Métis Federation has come out. Sorry, I better say one more thing, because I'm sure Earl Belcourt has said out there already on Facebook that he's a Michif speaker. So I better make sure that we say that Earl's also a Michif speaker, because I haven't seen it I can't see Facebook messages, but I'm sure he's there and he's watching. So Earl, we know you also speak Michif as well. So you're not the only, we have more than two. I just better want to say that. Now coming back to you, Renee, what do you think? You've been around Métis politics for a long time. I'll come back to some final administrative things, but there's a couple topics I just wanted to just get your thoughts on, and hopefully online for our members to see how we think, a little bit of glimpse into that. But Manitoba Métis Federation now says they're kicking down the colonial boundaries, and they're going to invite all Métis from the Red River back to the homeland to be with them, and they're going to change their governance structure. And they broke away from the Métis National Council. We have nothing to do with those organizations. We've held ourselves out separately for these very reasons. I personally think it's a complete gong show, and I think it's just not strong Métis governance. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but every time you open up media stories about either the MNC or a lot of their governing members, it's not positive. The problem is that drips down to the members, and they get, it's embarrassing, right? But this latest maneuver, MMF left MNC not that long ago. Now they're trying to say they're going to, it's not just Manitoba people that'll be part of them. They're going to welcome everyone back. What are your thoughts, Renee, on that?
Well, I think Michif was not only in Manitoba. I think it was all over the place, because Métis traveled all over. It was an oral language, and of course it was a working language. And I think there's Métis all over the place. And as far as Earl, he speaks Michif. His mother came to Terrace and taught the Michif language, French Michif.
Oh yeah,
in Terrace. It wasn't all that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years now. But she came and she speaks good Michif.
Well, it's good you're bringing that back, because I'm sure Earl would have let us hear it at the next board meeting if we didn't. So I'm glad you said that. But on the Métis National Council, do you have any thoughts? Or I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't have an opinion on it, but any thoughts about the latest news that came out this week that they're going to kick down the colonial boundaries of Manitoba and they're going to bring everyone into MMF? Your thoughts?
Well, I didn't hear too much about it, but I think I wouldn't go that route if I was them. I think Métis is a Métis. He doesn't have to be raised or learn the language in Manitoba.
Yeah. My problem is this. We have to have local functioning organizations. One of the things we've been doing at the Federation with our partner communities is, as they know, and hopefully we're getting there slowly but surely, we're putting resources into building our partner communities. Because if the people in Terrace don't have an active and functional or local Métis organization, how do you connect with your family and culture locally? It's just impossible. So what, we're going to go connect with MMF? It's just a political maneuver in my view. I think it's the wrong one. It's just trying to take down the MNC, and that's up to those guys to fight those battles. That battle is long from over. I think it's I just think it's not helpful for Métis people. And I just hope people said the Federation, we don't care. People can say whatever they want about us. We're doing our own thing. We've held ourselves out on our own. People said we'd never have agreements with governments. We do. Don't ever let anyone tell you that there's only one recognized Métis organization in BC. It's not true. We're getting these. We're just showing that we can be proud and be strong. We don't have to buy into those politics. Jeannie, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. Your staff, so I don't know if you really feel comfortable. I'm happy to have you say something. You're entitled to your opinion on this show.
Thank you, Keith. I think the way that things are being done is probably more harmful than whatever their intention is in the long run. I think the bottom line is there's a hunger for money and power. I think there's a lot of harm being done to the collective of Métis out there that are hearing some of the rhetoric that's happening, some of the harmful terms that are being used. And I don't think that it's being done in a good way and by good leadership. So I'm really disappointed to see what's occurring and to see the pockets of Métis that are really not wanting to be involved in politics and seeing how difficult and how harmful it can be and what it's doing to the average Métis person and their families. And it's reducing our sense of pride and all the things that many people have worked and contributed for to do in a good way.
Yeah, it's this thing. It's ingrained in a lot of the leadership and the DNA of a lot of those organizations. You're either with us or we hate you, you know. And it's like union mentality, I find. And you know, we can all be Métis. We can all have our own representation. There's no, you know, First Nations have layers and layers of representation. Why do we think as Métis we got to follow one window? It's not. Yes, we need unity, but we need functional unity, and we can achieve that through proper representation and a proper governance structure, which we don't have for this country. That's my strong belief, which is what contributes to the mass chaos that we always see. So, you know, I even see it in British Columbia manifest in so many ways. Like we saw part of when the newsletter we released was, you know, we saw the impacts of, we gave our third wave of funding. We helped about 350 families. We helped all the partner communities. They in turn provided, you know, some support to the local members. You know, we sampled 70% of those 350 family or individuals and families. 47% of those people are now unemployed. 47%.
Yeah.
And they can't get help if they have a BC Métis Federation card at the MNBC. And we know that the Métis Nation BC says they say they help everyone, but the truth is they only help MNBC members. We know that. And so it's not functional. Like, we don't care if they want to run the employment and training dollars for the province, but then help all members, you know, like that's the other Métis organization. I'm sure most of you are educated online watching tonight. We don't care if they run certain programs, but if you're going to tell the world you represent everyone, then let everyone have access to those programs and services, which we know they don't. Time and time again, our members are never funded. So we're going to have to go to ESDC at some point and address this issue, because we can't let that issue lie. My point is, because of that dysfunctional governance, it leads to all those bad policies and bad investments. In my opinion, I'm not saying MNBC members don't deserve support; they absolutely do. But that doesn't mean our members should be penalized because they're not them with them. Like, that's, or you have to become them to be like, that's not what community belonging is about. We're a community. This is how we express culture, and no one can tell us otherwise. Anyway, sorry, I don't get the soapbox, but it's a very touchy subject. So I think the whole MNC, MMF, I think it'll be, I'm not really ever going to get engaged in it, but it's interesting to watch it unfold. That's far from over. One of the other topics, we recently went through Louis Riel Day, November 16th. Anything that you saw that was touching to you, or anything you noticed happening at the community level for either of you guys on November 16th this year in your local areas?
Well, we were ready to have it, and all of a sudden we couldn't get the hall to have it in. So, but on the 10th, 11th of December, we have a hall where we could meet at least for 25 people, and I think we're gonna have it there. So that's something that we thought of it a couple of days ago.
Oh, nice. Well, that's great. Let us know if you're going to do something in carrying on to do something, follow up with our Louis Riel Day and things like that. I know a lot of our communities have local events, but make sure, Renee, let us know at the office, and we'll certainly look to help and support as best we can.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, and Jeannie, what about yourself? Was there anything you noticed in the Lower Mainland for Louis Riel Day?
I did see a couple events, and it was mostly followed a lot by media. So people doing a lot of stuff in their local communities, but I guess and doing them outdoors to respect some of the guidelines that are happening. So, but you know what? When I think back even 5 years ago, when we couldn't get a community official to hang our flag, we couldn't get recognition. Boy, have we ever really come a long ways, and to having some of that identity, some of our allies supporting us in the recognition. I would like to see more commemorative work done around Louis Riel as opposed to the celebratory. and maybe more conversation, discussion. What does commemorating him look like and sound like? And maybe that's some work we can do at the Federation that can start that dialogue happening to celebrate that in a different way.
Yeah, I feel the same as you. I actually see a lot more flag raising ceremonies, which is a start. And I think it's a great start. Not all the municipalities in BC do it yet. So, I don't really care which Métis organization is there with the flag raising. I'm glad they're doing it. I think that's important for our families, whatever political stripes they have. It's good for the kids. We're talking about culture and, pride. We just need to show leadership. Like, we just need to put our politics aside on those days. Like, we have to, as long as there's flag raising, I think it's fantastic. So those are, I think, step one. I do think, like you, we have to have a very deep conversation amongst our communities and our members. What does reconciliation really mean for us? Like, what do we actually want? I know we all talk about it. It's in the media every day. The throne speech just came out with the federal government, and reconciliation is one of the top priorities.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it really mean? It doesn't just mean more programs and services, not to me. Like, I think if we need help with education and housing and healthcare, sure, like that's fine. But really, what does cultural reconciliation for us, what our members in our community, our particular constituents mean? I think we have to force ourselves to think carefully about that, So any thoughts for you, Jeannie, on that?
I think you're right on the money about that. I think we do have to have conversations and really looking into what does that really look like and feel like for us, and start producing some of that outcome.
Yeah. Well, just so everyone knows, online, we are engaged with the province now with the anti-racism legislation, and we are engaging with some of the work towards. We've got a meeting with the province in December with the assistant deputy minister to continue dialogue on the Reconciliation Act. So we're getting there, but ultimately we're going to have to continue. And that may mean addressing some things like how many of our families went through residential schools, all that painful history. We also went through it. I know we did. I know, because I've talked to many of you maybe watching tonight. So please know we're working towards that. We don't have to have the answer right now. We're working towards that, and we're going to get there. I know we're coming close on the hour. Renee, I want you to get your fiddle ready, because I want you to end the show with a really great song, and then I'll sign us off. So you don't have to go yet.
No.
But a couple other small things I want to share. The Federation also was in the newsletter, and I want to just continue to make sure everyone understands. We did a call out for board members. We've evolved as an organization, and as the organization, we've grown so fast in the last 2 years. We ended up with having some of our board members take some of the projects on. We understand that's not really the best approach in good governance with any organization or any society. So now we've made we've been working since August to move the people that were paid like any sort of employees or contracts, with the exception of one position. We've said it's okay to have one or two, but not the full board. So we've now moved all those people down into employee, and they've all resigned. And so we're moving that. We do a call out for board members, an interim appointment till our annual general meeting as per our bylaws next, at the AGM in 2022. We don't have a date yet for that. So it'll be about a 1-year appointment. I'm really encouraging people to think about it. I've already had some great applications. We want to invite everyone. It's wide swath. There's a simple process online. You just go there, you click on the link, and you apply. And we'll look. We need 5 max. So I hope that people will think about it. Some of our partner community leaders that aren't there, wink, wink. I hope some of them apply. It'd be nice to get them more involved and just help them understand there's a big strategy and a big plan that we're implementing right now and get involved. But anyone's, of course, we're happy to take any applicants. So that's one of the other items. I also want to say congratulations to Angel Fisher and the Coast Guard project. They had another round of sort of work they did with they've created this committee, this emergency response group that's been doing training at the Justice Institute, and they had a bit more training and get together about 2 weeks ago. It was a great time. I know we posted a little bit about our social media, but it's in the newsletter. I think it was the Coast Guard group. Thank you very much for your work. I know they're going to be meeting in the new year. I can't wait to see them. I'm going to go visit with them and just say thanks to the members that have the 8 individuals that have put their names forward and really important work. We want to show positive results. So great job, guys. And sorry, ladies, I should have got to be careful. There's mostly ladies involved, and Angel, of course, herself. So great job. And also just, everyone, membership. We see members coming in. We welcome you. We're not doing it for money, for raising money. This is not some shameless drive. We want people to connect with our culture. I hope you see what you like as leadership in the Federation, the way we're trying to build our network, our communities. We're not there yet, we know, but boy, we've come a long ways in 10 years, as we've talked about in the past show. So finally, in December, we will be closing our office effective Monday, December 20th, and we'll be reopening on Tuesday, January 4th, I think it is. I want to roughly run the time, so forgive me if my dates are wrong. But I will run the final Métis Coffee Talk for the year on that Monday night. So we'll make sure we send a note out. We'll have one final show before Christmas this year. And we just want to make sure everyone knows. I want to acknowledge one last thing, I guess I should say. The flooding in BC was horrible. I know many Métis families have been deeply impacted. I know some of our members have reached out. Unfortunately, we don't have flood relief resources right now for folks, but please know that you're in our thoughts and in our prayers. And I really hope that you're trying to get through as best you can. Chances are those people are not watching Métis Coffee Talk because they probably have no infrastructure, I know many families' lives have been completely turned upside down. So please know we care deeply about everyone. We hope everyone's safe. And, we'll do what we can to help where we can, okay? And we just know that many families were impacted out in the Abbotsford, Chilliwack area and so forth. We have a lot of members out there as well. And so we wanted to say it. We hope you're all safe. And we're thinking about you. So I look forward to seeing you at the next Métis Coffee, but I'll sign off after we hear one more final song from our Vice President and cultural leader, Mr. Rene Therian. Well, bravo, Mr. Therian. And what was
You're
that
welcome.
song for everyone?
That was Whiskey Before Breakfast.
Oh, of course, one of the favorites of the Métis community.
One of the favorites.
Yeah. So Rene, thank you for joining me tonight. Great job as always. We appreciate you so much, and thanks for your leadership.
Oh, you're more than welcome. But before you leave, I'd like to thank Jeannie for all the work she's doing on the Michif. She's excellent, and within 6 months, she'll be a fluent speaker.
Make sure the rest of us are too, Jeannie, okay?
Yeah, will do.
Yeah. And Rene, please say hi to the community members up there, Elizabeth, Roseanne, Alan, everyone at the Skeena River Métis Community Association, okay?
I will, definitely.
Okay. And Jeannie, thank you very much for being our special guest tonight.
Thank you.
Hope I didn't put you on the spot too much. I know I went totally off script to the way I was going to do it, but my life was turned upside down here trying to get on the show tonight. So
No, and we appreciate that you made it. So thank you, Keith, for having us.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Jeannie, and keep up the great work. So everyone, one last thing I'll say, we have our next board meeting. It will be on December 17th. I know there's COVID, but we're going to try and figure out a way to invite, we're having a bit of a Christmas dinner after. So we'll be hoping to have some of the board members in. Some will be joining virtually because of COVID, whether they're fully vaccinated. So we got to make sure it's compliant. But if anyone wants anything addressed, please make sure you send me an email at k.henry, Henry at bcmétis.com. And please bring those issues forward. If we can open up dinner for the public, we will. In the meantime, though, we have provided a bit of Christmas resources to our partner communities to hopefully they can help with some Christmas hampers for the local members there. And we'll do everything we can to continue to support our members. So with that, it's been a great show, great guests. I really loved the music tonight. I hope you loved it. We want to please like this Facebook post, and it shows up on Facebook, on our Facebook page. Please share it to your network. We want to keep building this show. And you know what I love about this show? It's grassroots and it's authentic Métis news and information. And right now, I just don't see a lot of that out there anywhere. So, and people will know what I mean. There's a lot of non-Métis people working in our world right now that have no clue what it is to be Métis. And it just irritates me to no end. But I'll get off that issue before. I want to end positive. So Anyways, good night, everyone. Keith
night.
Henry, President
Good
of the BC Métis Federation. Thank you for joining me for this Thursday, November 25th. Everyone have a good evening.